The measure of a man's power is never in how often he is seen, but in how rarely he allows himself to be touched by the hands of the crowd. The greatest mistake of the weak is to confuse availability with generosity and presence with influence. You must understand that in every court, in every gathering, in every circle of power, those who are always available are treated as tools, while those who remain scarce are revered as treasures. Respect is born from distance. The common man desires closeness. He wishes to touch, to hear, to ask questions, to be fed by your presence. But once you grant him that indulgence, the mystery dies, and with it the aura that commands reverence. To be respected, you must remain beyond the easy reach of others. When a man is always at hand, people grow accustomed to him. Familiarity makes him ordinary, and ordinariness is the death of power. But when a man is difficult to reach, every word he speaks is weighted with significance, every appearance is an event, every gesture a signal of meaning. The powerful allow their time to be consumed only in rare portions, and that is why their presence shakes the ground when they enter a room. Consider the rulers of old, kings and princes. They did not stroll among the people as equals, for to be seen too often is to be made common. They surrounded themselves with walls, guards, and rituals, not merely for safety, but to create scarcity. The throne was not only a seat of rule, it was a symbol of distance. The king's absence was more powerful than the presence of 100 noblemen. His inaccessibility made him desired, made him feared, and made him respected. If you wish to command respect in your own life, learn to master the art of withdrawal. Not all should hear your words. Not all should see your face. Not all should know your thoughts. The crowd must be starved of you, so that when you choose to grant them a moment, they devour it with hunger. And in that hunger lies your power. People honor what they cannot easily have. They chase what retreats from them. They value what remains scarce. It is human nature to despise abundance, for abundance creates boredom. Understand this principle. When you make yourself always present, you serve others. But when you make yourself scarce, others serve you. A man who is everywhere becomes like air, necessary but unnoticed. A man who is rare becomes like gold, coveted, guarded, admired. The more you offer yourself, the cheaper your value becomes. The more you retreat, the higher the price of your presence. Even in friendship and love and alliance, this rule holds true. The man who is always at the call of others is not respected, but used. His eagerness diminishes his worth. But the man who appears when he wills, who gives sparingly, who withholds more than he grants, becomes the center of attention. People wait for his word. They anticipate his arrival. They honor his silence more than they honor the chatter of others. You must be like the sun. The sun does not shine in every corner at every moment. It rises, it sets, it hides behind clouds, and it makes men long for its warmth when it disappears. Its return is a cause for gratitude. Its absence creates desire. Imagine if the sun burned constantly in the same spot. It would scorch the earth, and men would curse it. But because it withdraws and returns, it is revered as life itself. So too must you master the rhythm of presence and absence. Step forward when it serves your interests. Retreat when your image needs protection. Never let others grow accustomed to your presence. Even a king loses his majesty if he dines every day with beggars. But when he withdraws behind his palace walls, the people dream of him. They speak of him. They imagine him greater than he is. Scarcity magnifies stature. The most respected men of history have been those whose presence was rare. They allowed rumors to spread, myths to grow, stories to inflate their image. They did not silence these whispers, they encouraged them by their very absence. What people cannot see, they invent. What they cannot touch, they glorify. What they cannot reach, they worship. Make yourself an idea more than a man, a vision more than a neighbor, a presence so rare that even your silence echoes louder than the words of those who speak daily. Availability destroys mystique. Think of the lover who clings too tightly, the friend who calls too often, the subordinate who hovers in every room. Their presence ceases to have meaning because it is in constant supply. But the lover who withdraws, the friend who vanishes, the leader who is rarely seen, they create yearning, and yearning becomes reverence. Respect is never born of abundance, only of scarcity. When you walk into a room after a long absence, all eyes turn to you. When you speak after a long silence, every word cuts deeper. When you grant a meeting after much refusal, the one who receives it feels as though they have been chosen. This is the true currency of power. To make others believe that your time, your words, and your presence are gifts, not commodities. The weak squander themselves, the strong ration themselves, the most respected ration themselves to the point of hunger, so that men dream of them even in their absence. You must remember that the world is filled with desperate men who will trade their dignity for attention, who will exhaust themselves trying to be seen, to be heard, to be remembered. Do not be one of them. Do not play the role of the entertainer who juggles endlessly for the amusement of the crowd. Be instead the figure who appears when he chooses and disappears when he must, forcing others to chase the shadow of your presence. To be respected, you must deny access. It is a cruel truth, but cruelty is often the companion of wisdom. Men respect not the generous giver, but the miser who grants sparingly. They respect not the friend who is always near, but the one who remains distant. They respect not the ruler who mingles freely, but the sovereign who keeps himself apart. The more you are denied, the more they desire you. The more they desire you, the more they honor you. This is the mathematics of power. Do not be deceived by the cries of the crowd who demand constant attention, who beg for your presence. They will never tell you that the moment you give it too freely, they will tire of you. They will never admit that their hunger for you is maintained only by your distance. Ignore their words and study their nature. Nature reveals the truth that words conceal. Nature tells you that scarcity commands reverence. So cultivate absence. Protect your time as a fortress. Guard your presence as a rare jewel. Appear only when it serves your purpose and disappear when you are not needed. In doing so, you become more than a man, you become a symbol. Symbols do not walk among the crowd, they float above it, untouchable, unreachable, revered. The most respected are always unavailable because their very unavailability creates the illusion of greatness. And in this world, illusion is as powerful as reality, often more so. Remember this: if you are always available, you will be forgotten. If you are rarely seen, you will never be ignored. To be respected, you must cultivate mystery, and mystery can only grow in the shadows of absence. Never give the world all of yourself. Let them starve for you. Let them hunger. Let them wonder, for it is the distance between you and them that makes them bow their heads when you pass. The man who wishes for respect must resist the temptation to please everyone with his constant presence. Understand this: the world is addicted to novelty. When you are always present, you cease to be new. When you are constantly seen, your value diminishes. The crowd begins to treat you as they treat the furniture of their houses, useful perhaps, but ignored, unnoticed, never admired. But when you remove yourself, when you become scarce, your very absence becomes a source of fascination. They begin to ask, "Where is he doing? What occupies his time?" These questions weave your image into a story, and in stories, men grow larger than life. Absence forces others to fill the gaps with imagination, and imagination builds thrones higher than reality ever could. That is why the most respected are always unavailable. Not because they lack time, but because they understand that availability is poison to power. When a ruler makes himself rare, every glimpse becomes a revelation. His silence speaks louder than the chatter of his advisors. His short appearances are magnified, studied, remembered. Each gesture is weighed as if it carried divine meaning. But if he were to wander the streets every day, to dine with every merchant, to answer every commoner, he would be stripped of majesty and reduced to a man of flesh like any other. Men do not respect what they can touch too often. They respect what they cannot reach. Think of the hunter who chases the stag. The beast that runs into his hands is soon slain and forgotten, but the beast that remains elusive, that escapes capture again and again, becomes legendary. Men tell stories of the one that got away, not the one that was caught. You must be like that stag, visible enough to be desired, but elusive enough to never be possessed. This is why unavailability is the bedrock of respect. Consider, too, the effect of time. When you are absent, men have no choice but to reflect on you. Reflection distorts, exaggerates, glorifies. When you are present, men see your flaws, your weaknesses, your imperfections. When you are absent, they see only the image they have built of you. And that image is often more powerful than reality. To be respected, you must feed imagination, not familiarity. In warfare, generals who expose themselves too much are easily targeted, but those who remain hidden, who reveal themselves only at decisive moments, strike fear and awe into their enemies. The same is true in life. If you are constantly in sight, you invite arrows. But if you appear only when the moment demands, your presence is overwhelming. It is sudden, it is sharp, it is unforgettable. The most respected people craft a discipline of distance. They know how to vanish at the height of interest, how to retreat when the crowd grows too familiar, how to silence their tongue when people grow accustomed to their voice. They leave men longing. They allow desire to ferment, and when they finally return, they find not boredom, but adoration. Even in matters of love, this principle holds. The lover who is always available soon becomes a burden, but the lover who withdraws, who creates space, who denies, this lover ignites passion. Men and women alike desire most what they cannot have or what they fear losing. Respect in the heart works the same way. Constant presence kills passion. Absence fans the fire. So I tell you again, to be respected, to be revered, to be treated as rare, you must master the art of being unavailable. Do not give the world more than it deserves. Do not allow others to devour your presence until they spit you out as tasteless. Grant yourself sparingly, as though each appearance is a jewel placed before their eyes. In this way, you will never be forgotten, and your name will echo long after your voice has gone silent. The world makes the same mistake again and again. It rewards those who know how to vanish, and it punishes those who are too eager to be present. A man who throws himself before the eyes of all, begging to be noticed, will earn nothing but disdain. People may use him, they may laugh with him, they may accept his service, but they will never revere him. Reverence is not given to those who offer themselves cheaply. It is reserved for those who know the value of absence. You must see respect not as something granted freely, but as a tribute extracted by discipline. A disciplined man does not open his door to all visitors. He does not give his words to all ears. He does not share his time with all who request it. He measures carefully, he rations deliberately, he denies often, and it is in the denial that others learn to value him. For what is too available is treated like water, necessary but overlooked. What is rare is treated like wine, saved for only the most important occasions. The ancient rulers knew this truth well. They invented ceremony, ritual, distance, and barriers, not for protection alone, but to increase desire. An audience with a ruler was difficult to obtain, and because it was rare, it was priceless. Men would wait for months, sometimes years, just for a single word, a single glance. And when they received it, they were overcome with gratitude, as though they had been given treasure. If the same ruler had been wandering freely among them daily, his presence would have lost all meaning. Respect depends on rarity. This same law applies in every arena of life. In business, the leader who is always available to his workers becomes a companion, not a figure of power. His authority weakens because he is too close, too familiar. But the leader who appears rarely, who speaks only when it matters, who remains behind closed doors until his presence is necessary, that leader commands respect. His words are not just instructions, they are commands infused with weight. In social life, the man who is always in the company of others is soon taken for granted. He is part of the background, no different from the walls around him. But the man who appears selectively, who withdraws often, who denies invitations more than he accepts them, this man becomes a subject of curiosity. Why was he not here? They ask. What occupies him? In his absence, he grows larger. They imagine him as busy, as important, as powerful. His very unavailability builds an aura of significance. There is a paradox here. Men believe they must give more of themselves to gain respect, but the opposite is true. The more you give, the less you are valued, The less you give, the more others desire it. It is not generosity that creates respect, but controlled scarcity. Learn this lesson well. Respect is not won through abundance, but through restriction. Think of the jewels buried deep within the earth. Their worth comes not from their substance alone, but from their rarity. If diamonds were as plentiful as sand, no one would care to possess them. So too with your presence. If it is scattered like sand, it will be stepped on. If it is rare like diamonds, it will be cherished, guarded, and revered. Consider the philosopher who speaks constantly. His voice becomes noise. But the philosopher who speaks rarely, who waits until silence surrounds him, who chooses his words carefully and then withdraws again into silence, his words become remembered, quoted, and repeated for generations. History reveres those who withheld themselves, not those who gave themselves away too cheaply. To make yourself unavailable is not to vanish completely. No, to vanish completely is to be forgotten. The art lies in balance. To appear enough to remind them of your power, but to disappear enough that they hunger for your return. This rhythm of appearance and withdrawal creates a cycle of desire that never dies. You become like the tide, sometimes present, sometimes absent, but always awaited. The weak man fears absence. He believes that if he is not constantly present, he will be forgotten. But this fear is born from insecurity. The strong man understands that absence, if managed correctly, engraves his presence deeper in the minds of others. They will not forget him. They will dream of him. They will not dismiss him. They will long for him. Unavailability is a shield, but it is also a weapon. It shields you from disrespect, from overfamiliarity, from being reduced to nothing. It weaponizes desire, making others chase you, beg for your presence, fight for your attention. The greatest respect you can receive is when men feel honored simply to be allowed near you. That respect can never exist if you give yourself to everyone. So discipline yourself. Withdraw often. Speak rarely. Appear selectively. Become the prize others fight to attain. For in the end, the most respected people are not those who are always seen, but those who are always sought.